Hello and welcome to The Conversation with your host Nadine Matheson. And I understand you're probably sitting there wondering, why am I getting an episode of The Conversation on Monday afternoon? I normally get a new episode on a Tuesday. And I know that we get coffee break samples on a Thursday. Today's Monday. Let me explain. This is not The Conversation. This is Adventures in Publishing Land. And if you're now wondering what Adventures in Publishing Land is, let me explain. So I have joined forces with Marco Rinaldi and Tariq Ashkanani, who are hosts of Page One, the Writers Podcast. And we've come together to form a new network called Step Podcast. And Step Podcast, think of it as an umbrella. And both our podcasts, The Conversation with Nadine Matheson and Page One, will be underneath this umbrella, and it's just a nice convenient place where you can find us both. But in addition to our own podcast, we thought that we would come together to do a fortnightly podcast called Adventures in Publishing Land. And Adventures in Publishing Land is where we take the opportunity to discuss all the latest news in publishing. And our very first episode dropped today. And in addition to listening to Adventures in Publishing Land, wherever you find your podcast, you can also watch the full episode on YouTube. Now, all of the links are going to be in my show notes. And today, I'm sharing our first episode with you. And I really hope that you enjoy it and you can like, follow, share and subscribe to Adventures in Publishing Land. It's available wherever you find your podcast. But also remember, The Conversation with Nadine Matheson is not going anywhere. I will still be here every Tuesday having amazing conversations with my brilliant guests. And when season 4 starts in September, we'll also have coffee break episodes on Thursdays, in addition to your regular Tuesday episodes. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoy Adventures in Publishing Land, episode 1. And don't forget, there will be a new episode of The Conversation tomorrow with my guest, Chris Bridges. Now enjoy.
Hi and welcome to the very first episode of our new podcast, Adventures in Publishing Land. You may recognise us from other podcasts. I'm Marco. That's where you're meant to say I'm Tariq.
Oh, I'm Tariq. I was waiting for Nadine.
We've done this before, honestly.
This is day one, and I'm Nadine Matheson, host of the Conversation podcast.
Yes, see, she even introduced her podcast.
Oh, yeah,
and we're the
I know what I'm doing, Tariq.
Page One,
yeah,
Page One, the Writers Podcast does. But yeah, on this podcast, we thought we'd combine our podcast experience and expertise, which we do have, honestly, despite that slow start.
Help us, Nadine.
Yeah, Nadine has. We're rubbish. Yeah, and this podcast, the idea behind it is to look at the latest stories in publishing. It's going to be every couple of weeks, I think, that we're planning on releasing this. Obviously, we'll be releasing our own podcasts in between as well, and you'll be able to catch all of our podcasts together on a podcast network that we're calling State Podcasts. But why don't we just get straight into the news section then?
Right, so this section, we've got to have 3 news topics. Each of us has got to introduce a topic that we found interesting in the last couple of weeks, and we'll have a little bit of chat about it. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to chat about the whole Unbound Saga, which has been playing out in the news in the last few months. And I feel it's a story which we might end up coming back to a few times because it's kind of, unfolding. But I thought I'd start off with a kind of basic run through of what's actually happened for people who maybe aren't aware of what the issue is. So Unbound is a publisher, but it's crowdfunded. That's its whole publisher. It was a publisher. So spoiler. It's crowdfunded, which is first of its kind and only, and probably won't be any more now. And essentially the way it worked was that readers would back every book that came out. And I was trying to find targets online, and I found one person saying they're target for their book was £20,000. So that was what they were trying to raise to get that book out. And the argument that they were making was that it's a model that gives voices to books that might struggle to be sold by a traditional publisher, because, you know, I suppose if they hit the £20,000 limit, it goes out there. If no one buys it, they've still made money off it because it's all it's in the cost of everything. So that's the point of it. And there's a much less of a risk, etc. So it launched in 2011, and it did have good success at first. They put books out, they were in bookshops. One of them, The Wake by Paul Kingsnorth, was nominated for a Man Booker Prize in 2014. And that was a big thing. It was the first crowdfunded book to ever up for that award. So everyone was like, this is a very exciting model, but cracks started to show. And one evidence I found, for instance, of many, was a book launch in 2024 where Unbound organised a launch event and told the author 6 minutes before it started they hadn't been able to get any books to the event. And now I have to say, part of me is like, how do you get 6 minutes before it starts and not realise there's no books there? I don't quite know what they said it was, and she said she was emailed it as well, so I don't know. I know there might be a bit of exaggeration there, but basically they didn't get any books for this person's book launch. Now, jump cut to January 25. Widely reported authors and freelance contributors that were working for Unbound had missed payments, so royalty payments that were owed to them weren't being paid, and Unbound announced they hadn't raised enough money in the previous year. They were restructuring, and they ceased commissioning any new books. One author, Tom Cox, said he'd been waiting for payment for more than 6 months, believes it's a 5-figure sum. So it's a lot of money.
Oh.
Yeah.
A lot of money. It's like tens of thousands that some authors have not been paid yet. He got the rights back to his books. Unbound sent him 5,000 copies of his books for him to sell himself, which is just insane. A month later, in February this year, Unbound launched a magazine, Boundless, which they raised over 100,000 for. And I was kind of, that's a bit of a, probably could have spent 100,000 other things in a magazine, which no one's reading. Anyway, March, now this is the big bit. Unbound go under administration. And it gets a bit weird here because, so Unbound was originally founded by a number of people, including a man called John Mitchinson. And in January, when the issues first started happening, the CEO was replaced with someone called Archana Sharma. Now in March, when Unbound goes into administration, they're bought by another company, Boundless, which is a brand new full risk traditional publisher founded by John Mitchinson and Archana Sharma. So the original founder of Unbound and the new CEO both set up a new company to buy the existing company. So it's all a bit weird.
A Phoenix company, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the latest update is May last month. Sharma says, the CEO says, that all Unbound authors will not be receiving any royalty payments until Boundless is cash stable. And at the same time, John Mitchinson quits Boundless, saying its stance is morally and financially unacceptable, which is the company he founded in March, 2.5 months earlier. Like, bonkers. So, it's a total mess, and I think it's a story we're going to come back to time and again.
I think authors are, I've seen authors saying that they're owed 40 grand, 60 grand. It's ridiculous.
It's proper life-changing sums of money not to be getting in a negative way,
Well, the author you were talking about, the one who was sent 5,000 copies of his books, I'm sure it's the same author I saw on Substack, trying to get people to buy his book, and he was continuously showing updates. Yeah, showing the stack, like slowly going down. But, as a criminal lawyer, in my head, I'm thinking, it's all just a scam. The whole thing.
It feels like a scam, right? It does feel like a scam. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I suppose by forming a new company, what they're trying to do, I suppose, is say that they didn't buy the liabilities of the old company, so they don't owe anything or something.
Yeah, I'm sure it's exactly what it must be.
I don't know enough corporate law. We're all lawyers, or we're lawyers. And none of us are corporate lawyers. But I'm pretty sure, you can, I remember the phrase from law school, piercing the veil, so if you're doing something like that, to pretend that you're actually... But it's really just the same people doing the same thing just to avoid liabilities. Then whether that's legal or not is questionable.
But, the problem is, sorry, go on.
So no, I was just going to say, putting that to one side, what you've got is a lot of people that raised. It's the authors that actually raised this money for the company. They raised all this money.
Thousands,
they put in the
thousands.
effort. They wrote the books, and they're getting nothing at the end of it. They're getting shafted.
It feels like a scam because they're the ones raising all the money, and how liquidation works when you're going into administration. When it comes to creditors, you're right at the bottom. So when it's time for them to get, they're not going to be getting paid at all. And I don't understand the whole why you would do the whole crowdfunding method in order to run a publishing company, because I think there's going to come a point when the accounting is just not going to balance.
Yeah.
It's going to be less coming in. Yeah, it's so risky.
And all the crowdfunders who put their own money up to buy it, they aren't getting anything back. Which is always a risk when you crowdfund anything. If it doesn't happen,
but I think
you lose your money.
Yeah, I think what can happen with crowdfunding, because I've seen it, you can probably just about see that I've got lots of shelves of board games here. I crowdfund board games. But what you often see with board game companies is that they'll have success, which then causes them to crowdfund something else and crowdfund something else. But it almost becomes like a Ponzi scheme, which legally, I'm not saying this is what's happened here, but they're relying on the next one to be bigger so that they can then publish the previous one.
I think that is what's happened, Jade, because
it's a similar thing to that.
They certainly said that the problems really started when they didn't raise enough money the previous year, and that was and so I think that is a problem, is when you're continually having to hit these targets every year, and when you don't start doing that, then it just collapses because there's no financial base there.
I think I understand crowdfunding if you're doing it on an individual basis, because I've seen loads of independent publishers, so not publishers, authors, crowdfunding their own books. But the thing is, they've grown their following, they've got their base, so they're continuously getting that support, and they're getting something. And the people giving them the money, they're getting something out of it. But when you're running a whole company,
I know,
which is what they're doing, that doesn't make any sense, and I can't see how it can be viable. Well, it clearly hasn't in the long term.
No, exactly, and I'm just very wary of the people behind it who are now coming out and saying, this is morally unacceptable, etc. And I'm like, well, you've been in it from day one. It's just, I think it's just such a mess, and I feel, and like all with these things, it's the authors that are getting squeezed in the middle who are getting. I mean, there'll be people who, as you say, 10s, 40, 50,000 down who are stressing about paying their bills.
And they can't, I think they're even trying to see if they can get, it's not like a simple thing to get the rights back of this.
No, I'm sure it's not.
All of that sort of stuff. So
you can pay for it.
They're having to get lawyers involved, which then costs more money. Mm-hmm. So it's a disaster for the authors. You've got to feel for them, because they must have felt, oh, well, it's an unconventional route, but I am there. I've got books,
and especially when you're looking back and
had
saw
a track record.
That's right. They had success, and they had folk.
I just feel like you're taking advantage of people who are desperate.
Yes.
Completely, they really are desperate to see their books out there. Yeah. And I don't know. I can't remember what article it was. It was an article about Taylor Jenkins Reid's in the. I think it was either in the Time magazine or New York Times, one of the two. Uh-huh. And the opening paragraph was saying that, there's 16 million submissions made to agents every year. So 16 million manuscripts going onto a slush pile. So you've got you've got a lot of people trying to find a way to rise above the slush pile. Yeah. And they're seeing and they're seeing companies like Unbound, where it's being crowdfunded, which makes it feel like it's all about the people. It's about you. We care about you. And they think, okay, I can rise above the slush pile. I can get my book out there. And as you said, someone gets nominated for the Man Booker Prize. They see, it's all about a win.
Legitimizes it.
Yeah. And then, but I said, it comes to a point. It's like, how viable is it? And this cost of living. Not everyone can keep giving you, I don't know how much, a tenner.
That was it. So the article I read, that they raised £20,000 for one book. It was 700 people.
Yeah,
that was all that. I mean, which is people are giving a lot of money.
But what are they getting for that?
Well,
a T-shirt.
I mean, often if it was like any other crowdfunding, you'd get the book, but there will be other benefits. Maybe you get a name in the back of the book.
I wonder if there
like
was tiers that you could unlock.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
for this one.
I don't know.
But for 700 people, some folk are given a lot of money over there. So I just don't quite understand.
I feel it's all it's like those BBC One documentaries like Rogue Traders. This is how I'm basically a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. Like, no, not that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think everything is a scam. That's basically what I feel. I'm like, it's a scam.
It's a safe position to approach things from. If you think it's a scam to begin with, then you're going in.
I'm like, you're asking me for money. Some random guy at the market came up to me and goes, "Can you give me a tenner and help me make my book?" I'd be like, "What? No."
I was caught by one of them. I was in Starbucks in New York years ago by myself, and I was in the queue.
I saw you
and
come in.
They saw me coming, and the guy came up to me and he was like, "Oh, I'm like 20 cents short for my coffee," and I was like, "Oh, fine, there you go," and he took it and he's like, "Thanks," and he turned and just walked to the shop. And I was like, "Fuck, he didn't want a coffee. He
You know what a
drugs."
coffee.
But what did he get out of you? 20 cents?
Yeah, it was nothing.
I mean,
So I didn't feel too bad.
got a
He
call
needs to get
cut.
better at it.
Yeah, you could have got a lot more.
Exactly.
I had like 50 cents.
Oh, I think it's sad though, because as I said earlier, it's like, it's hard. This business is hard and it's demoralizing. It's heartbreaking at times.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, and people look for different ways in, whether it is, but the trouble with, if you want to self-publish yourself, that's a huge amount of effort and, you're spending a lot of money with editors. And I think what Unbound were saying was, you crowdfund, but we'll get the editors, we'll design the book, we'll design the cover, we'll deal with distribution, all of that.
It's
sort of
almost
stuff.
like a vanity. It's in that vanity press ballpark, isn't it? It feels
it's sort
too
of
close to it from
around
But
about there, isn't it?
But it kind of avoids that whole vanity press bad tag, because it makes it feel like it's a communal thing. We're doing it for the benefit of the whole.
Yeah. And it's not you're not stumping up your own money. You're raising money, so it's
you're raising money.
It's different. It's just different enough, isn't it? That it still leaves a bit of a bad taste. So anyway, Unbound, total mess. I suspect it's not the last we've heard of it. And
no, indeed. I think, as you say, that is a story we will probably revisit in the future.
How are you going to sell 5,000 books? Because when I get sent proofs of my own book, I've got mine in a storage unit.
Oh,
because I'm like, there comes
20 copies of my book. I'm going to get buried with those things. Probably get killed when they fall on me.
I got foreign editions of mine, and so you get the proofs, and then I'm like, I literally have no room. Like, I give them away to the community library. Like, anyone will take them, because. So how are you going to sell 5,000 on your own?
I know, exactly. You have to basically
impossible.
set up your own distribution network. It's pretty difficult. But
maybe you could crowdfund some kind of system where you you sell your books. People.
Why don't we set? That's a good idea for a business. Let's do that. Set that up.
This will be our last podcast, because we're now going into crowdfunding distribution.
We will come back to that story. But I think you wanted to talk to us, Nadine, about something to do with the Hunger Games.
Oh, I don't know if it's good or it's just makes me just feel like I do not understand what's wrong with people. So this all happened this week. So there's an American author called, actually she's not American, but she's based in America, called Ali Hazelwood. That's her pseudonym. In her other life, she's actually a neuroscience professor. And so Ali Hazelwood is her pen name, but she writes romantic comedies and New York Times best-selling author. Books come out, shoot to the top 10. Everybody loves her. So anyway, this week it emerges, I think she was on a podcast, and she said that when it came to the Hunger Games, that she was team girl. Who told her to say that? Because she said it, and then all of a sudden she gets this massive onslaught. She starts getting bullied on her Instagram, on all her social media accounts. How can you be team girl? She's out of touch. She's this, she's that. And basically all these, I'm trying to be polite, all these people basically, they bully her of social media. She deactivates her account because she's expressed an opinion that she's team girl and not team Peter, because she said Peter was kind of useless.
If she had just stopped at kind, maybe.
Can I double check? I remember Peter. Who's Gail again?
Gail was Chris Hemsworth's brother.
Was it?
Oh, Liam Hemsworth, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hemsworth.
I've read the books years ago, but I can't. Is this the original book?
So originally when you first meet Kat,
So is
her?
Oh, they're the two love interests, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And Peter's the baker's.
So people went mad because she chose
himself. Remember,
they went mad.
Yes,
she had. I'm reading the comments. She had 600,000 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
And someone said she couldn't work out how to deactivate her comments, so she just, or to turn off the comments, so she just deactivated the account. And I'm like, no, she's a neuroscience professor. She knows how to turn off the comments on her social media. She just thought, the hell with this. I'm just deactivating everything. Yeah, but my thing was, I don't understand how you can't recognize, one, that it's okay for you to have an opinion, And I don't understand why, because there is this thing that some people feel that if you are someone if you have some kind of platform, you're in the public eye. So whether you're a writer or an actor or musician, that you shouldn't, that means that you cease to have an opinion on anything.
Yeah.
And that's where it all stems from. It's like, why can't she just say she's team, team girl? Why just take issue with that? And then to bully.
Yeah. I never understand the whole fandom of, I mean, because the one I always think about is the Jar Jar Binks guy who got absolutely atrocious mail and hate mail and campaign from fans who hated him, and to the point where he was almost thinking about suicide. You know, like it was dreadful. And I never understand this. But this is almost worse in this example because it's a made up thing. It's not even something she's done. It's a fictional thing that she's
saying. It's not linked
to
her books.
Yeah, it's not linked to what she does.
And it's
or
also
her
books that have been out for ages.
I know.
I'm surprised it created such a storm, actually.
I don't understand why you would care so much. Because, I mean, if someone said to me, with my books, like with my main character, Henry's got her husband and she's got her ex-lover. And there's clearly a divide. People are definitely like, they're against the husband. So when I've done polls on Instagram, I'm like, are you team Rob or are you team Pelletier? They're going for team Pelletier. They don't want the husband. But no one's bullying people. You know, it's just fun. But to drive someone off social media because you can't, it's a toxic fandom.
It's exactly
where the lines are.
Yeah, and it shows that it shows the dangers of, you know, social media can be really helpful for authors, particularly I think certain, you know, we've discussed this in our podcast, certain genres of story have big followings and passionate followings on social media. I think, you know, fantasy, romance, particularly, and. So it can be a force for good, I suppose, for the author because it can get you a big readership. But the trouble is, the bigger your readership, the more and more careful you have to be about what you actually post, because then you get reactions like this. About
I'm almost
completely unrelated.
But you're almost like scared to post anything. If that's the kind of reaction you get from folk, then where's the line? What do you? Exactly. How do you know if what you're going to post is? I mean, I can see why you're like, fuck it, I'm not going to post anything because that's the reaction I get to saying like.
But it's just so ridiculous. You want to have passionate readers because you need readers to be invested in your books and to keep following you through the next book and the next book and the next book. But they shouldn't then turn on you because you suddenly decided, you know what, I can't stand EastEnders, I prefer Emmerdale. Oh my God, how dare you? Or if I turn around and say I haven't watched EastEnders for years, oh my God, are you even human? It's like, what? Why does that matter?
Yeah, I don't. It's a viewpoint that I will never understand. Keep being that. I don't even get it because it's not even like you're. As we said, it's not even like she was anything to do with Hunger Games.
No,
it's not like
exactly.
These are Hunger Games fan. It's like it's two different worlds that have somehow pulled in this weird fandom into her orbit. I don't get it. It's
fictional. Yeah. It's not okay. If you're expressing an opinion about, you know, political opinion, because there's so much going on politically, I could understand if you're like, I can't believe, you know, I thought you were this way. I get it, but still, it doesn't give you the right to bully people.
No. But I get people getting up in arms, or getting annoyed. It's very emotive, etc. This is just it's fiction. It's like people need to get a grip and step back from.
Could you imagine? I mean, I have no idea what the comments are because, you know, she's deactivated her account. But can you imagine what someone must be saying to you and for you to feel like I don't feel safe?
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. You don't feel safe on that platform.
Yeah, and it's also probably made much worse by the fact she's a woman. You know, I can imagine the comments and the horrific stuff that's been said about her. It's a kind of prime example of the whole, is social media a force for good or bad and stuff like that. I'm kind of like, is it even worth it? Like, is it in the grand scheme of things, does it do anything at all? You know, I don't know.
But I was thinking, you know, you mentioned Jar Jar Binks, and I was thinking, when did Phantom Menace come out? It was 1990s. It was late 90s, wasn't it? It wasn't even.
I think.
Yeah.
I think it was
so we're not even in. We're like, I'm saying the early days. we're in the days when it took you like 4 hours to download not even that, 12 hours to download a trailer.
Yeah, it's true.
So
you didn't have
social
social media and stuff. Yeah.
No, not to what we have.
Hey, you're right.
now.
Folk kept that inside. They kept that hatred burning for years.
Yeah.
Until they were able to like find an output. They
won the Hotmail Messenger board, whatever it was called. It's like
MSN. Was MSN around there?
It was MSN or something.
I mean, Jar Jar Binks is a dreadful character, but it's not the guy's fault.
No, it's not his fault.
Going mad. It's George Lucas.
But can you imagine if that was now and they released that now and they had that much passionate hate for him? Can you imagine? All over social media.
It was the kid as well, right? The kid not get the
kid got bullied.
Anakin, he got bullied to hell. He quit acting pretty much.
Yeah, it's like with the Last of Us as well. Bella
Ramsey
she's gone off social media because I Reddit will, because I've liked The Last of Us obviously, so Reddit will show me various. I think there's about 10 different subreddits for Last of Us, but some of them are just unhinged and they'll just post stuff,
photos of her face.
Exactly. It's just
it's like
horrible.
Oh God, is it How to Train Your Dragon?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know the characters. name. Also, they did the animated movie. Now they've done the live action movie.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get it wrong, but one of the female characters, they were basically complaining about her on social media, verging on bullying because she's supposed to have blonde hair in the book, and now you've given us a brunette.
Honestly,
and you're like, what the? I was going to swear. I'm not going to swear. But you're like, what is wrong with you? Oh, what the fuck is wrong? Seriously, like, what is wrong with you? Seriously. I don't understand people.
Yeah.
No,
I just don't. That's why I read it and I just thought, are you? You're not okay. You can't be okay if this is what you're getting passionate about.
Exactly. I can't imagine taking the time to do that. Actually, as you're typing it out, why aren't you stopping yourself and thinking, "What the hell?"
I haven't bullied James Gunn. We'll get
on to that. We'll get on to James Gunn later. But yes, yeah. So I wanted to bring up a different story though, which was that there's a story that Simon and Schuster are going to publish new works based on Arthur Conan Doyle's characters in collaboration with Conan Doyle's estate, and we've seen something like this before with the Bond, the Ian Fleming estate, and the Bond books, and sort of officially licensed books and stuff like that. And I think they're publishing an anthology which is going to feature great names. It's got like Kate Moss, Anthony Horowitz, S.A. Cosby, Joe Hill, Vaseem Khan, Janice Hallett. Lots and lots of great authors. What I wondered though was, because the Sherlock estate has Sherlock Holmes is out of copyright. And they kept trying to hold on to bits of his character to try and stop some of the more recent films, like how he was portrayed in Enola Holmes, the Enola Holmes films, certain bits of his character and stuff. But it brings up that old thing about how long should a copyright be exploitable by the author's family? Is Sherlock Holmes? Should the estate still have control over that, or should it just be free for all, and anyone can write stories about
I can kind of see
characters?
Both sides of the argument, to be honest. Like I can, on the one hand, if I create something, why should my creation and the work I put into something, why should that just be allowed to go to everyone after a certain amount of time? I can kind of see the argument, but then the flip side is,
if you're dead,
if I'm dead, if I'm dead. But then see, if it was a physical thing, that I'd made, like an piece of art, like an actual painting, for instance, that wouldn't just become available to anyone who wanted it. Like what? Like,
but you could
bequeath it to a museum, isn't it? And then they
also it becomes after a certain amount of time, you can do prints of any artwork you want.
Well, can you?
Because it's out of copyright.
It's the copyright thing. No, I think what probably the issue is that not necessarily the estates doing whatever they want with it. It's the projects they choose to do. Because sometimes I think it just feels like it's just exploitative.
Yeah.
And not in keeping with the true meaning of, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes or Agatha Christie. Like it just moves away from the original intention.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think when it gets down to sort of great grandkids having a say over these characters, it's like
They
what
didn't
the hell
even
do
meet them.
Exactly. What the hell do these great grandkids know about the character? Where compared to people that might actually want to tell good stories with these characters and stuff like that, why should they still have a control over that at that point?
I suppose it becomes like a company, right? It becomes like a shareholders in a company running.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a company. That's what it basically. I mean, they call them estates, and it sounds like it's all very much all about family and keeping it within the family. But really, when push comes up, they are companies who are decide, and it's they're business products, and they're giving out licenses because it's all about generating income for the estates.
It can be for the good as well. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because some estates do manage it very well and are protective and protect it in a good way. Like the Tolkien estate, arguably. I mean, I think they were extreme at some points, but they did protect it from being exploited into nonsense until, although they didn't even like the films, I think at the end of the day. But the films were a good. They allowed the films to be made, and they were ultimately what a lot of people associate with Lord of the Rings now. So
I suppose you're right when it comes to grandkids protecting something. I suppose it becomes a kind of crazy question of how do you know what you're protecting? Like, how do you know what the original artist would have wanted necessarily to do?
Exactly.
I think
it does become a bit artificial, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what not that I have issue with, but I question when they're like, oh, we're going to be doing a new Sherlock Holmes book. I'm like, from where? From how? You're just okay now. What you're doing, we're making something in the voice of how we think, but it's not as if you got old material there. You've got their notes from whenever.
It's basically fanfic, isn't it?
It is. I feel like it's fanfic.
Yeah.
I mean, it also, if it comes out of copyright, there's nothing stopping the great grandkids of Conan Doyle or Fleming or the people that created Superman or whatever creating their own versions of it. If they're so bound to the character, they can tell the stories as well.
So I could write a James Bond versus Sherlock Holmes book because they're both out of copyright, or
I don't think Bond's out of copyright yet.
Is Bond out of copyright yet? Okay.
No, it's not.
I could do a Winnie the Pooh versus Sherlock Holmes.
Mickey Mouse.
I don't think you can do Winnie the Pooh, but theoretically,
no, Winnie the Pooh's out of copyright.
Yeah,
there was that horror film. Yeah.
It
Blood
was.
and Honey.
Oh yeah, and so it's Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse, yeah.
Only Steamboat Willie.
Only Steamboat Willie. Or whatever.
Well, you could still do early Steamboat.
I could do Steamboat Ricky with
Sherlock on the boat.
Winnie the Pooh, investigating a Sherlock case. What I'm saying, it's like it gets to a point where the stuff that's being produced starts getting farcical. Like when you give someone a license and it ends up on yogurt.
But that's what I mean. Like, I think even though Mickey Mouse is becoming out of copyright, most people would associate Mickey Mouse with Disney anyway. So, and they'll trust the Disney version of it more than other people coming out with it until someone else tells a different version of it that is better. But that's for the benefit of all, ultimately.
Yeah, but the whole I'm saying dead people. I'm simplifying it. Sorry, I apologize. But the whole I suppose writing in the voice of someone who's passed. Like, I have an issue with the whole James Patterson and Michael Crichton book. 'Cause I'm like, he's been dead since I can't remember 2000 and
what's the argument? Patterson found, or his Mick Crichton's wife found a half-finished book in a drawer. And
a half-finished book.
I know it's probably. I wonder how much truth there is to that. How much is marketing?
I mean,
it probably was a post-it note.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm being terrible. But no, I have issues.
And also, but it'll have Patterson and Crichton's name in it. Probably neither of which have anything to do with the book. At the end of the day, it'll be someone else, a third person.
You said it. I didn't say it.
Written it.
Exactly. For the record,
we don't know that.
Said it.
We're allegedly.
Of course.
No, but allegedly, like hypothetically, it's something you would consider because if author A has been rumored or known that they use ghostwriters, and then they suddenly produce a book and their name's all over it, and they've written that book, or Frey's written that book in collaboration with Mike Smith, and Mike Smith's been dead for 20 years. I'm thinking some woman called Deborah in Stockport's written that book, and how much did she get for it?
I mean, it might still be a good book, but it's almost like it is almost like fictional characters that you're putting on the front cover to attract people to buy it. Almost,
it's all marketing.
It's more selling exactly. It's selling a type of story rather than the actual.
I think
the story itself.
I think I can probably accept the whole estates, having different licenses and extending the story with different authors. I think I can probably accept that than the other version of, which is basically the James Patterson and the Michael Crichton.
Yes,
that doesn't sit comfortably with me.
And I have to say, there's part of me is like Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse will eventually become free for anyone to do what they want. Part of me is like, why shouldn't Disney be able to maintain like that? But why should that become open to anyone? It feels weirdly
you're getting. Why shouldn't it? Well, yeah, I know, but it becomes difficult. You're getting into difficult points because I think, especially in America, they start copyrighting. That's why it's only the Steamboat Willie version.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, that one example. I guess it's
start copyrighting different versions, or Mickey Mouse that looks like this. That's why they change the look of these characters and stuff.
And you can register
Superman,
copyright.
because the Seagulls, did they lose control of Superman?
They try and there's one of the families I can't remember, but they try and stop each new Superman film that comes out because they say
because they were suing.
That's right.
They were suing
DC,
Warner Brothers and DC. Everyone's getting sued. Basically, but
they never seem to be successful. But
no, America's system of copyright is different too. I say mine because you two are in Scotland and I'm in England. But no, our copyright is different. You don't have to. You don't have to register it. You don't have to file a form with the copyright division. It's just as soon as you write it, copyright is deemed to be yours.
It's all just about to prove it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just about being to prove it. When I think in America you can actually file. Like filing,
because
registering a trademark.
Put it on a postcard and mail it to yourself.
I think it's similar, but there are obviously nuances internationally as well. But it's an interesting thing, and that you do wonder, because obviously there have been Sherlock Holmes books that haven't been done by the estate because he has been out of copyright, the character, for a while. So the estate is still trying to control part of it, even though other people are still writing their own independent
seems like a bit of a kind of
as well.
Because 70 years after you. I mean, I did copyright. Remember, it's 70 years after you die.
I think it's 75. Yeah,
is it 75?
Yeah,
when copyright. But that's when it finishes.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm dead and gone, I don't think I'll be too.
Yeah,
I know.
That's.
That's for the purpose of it was to you protect copyright during the life because you need to earn because you created it.
Yeah.
And 75 years gives it not only to you but also to your
family,
to your sons and daughters, and then potentially even your grandkids as well at that point.
Yeah.
So they've had a good time to get money out of it, and they still can, obviously, like we say. But
I was just final point in this before I know we have to move on. But when Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. So, they were obviously the Bond film side of things. And that was very much like, the family, keeping the family. Albert Broccoli did the old films and his son. Family, is his daughter? Is his daughter-in-law? Or, was it daughter? Okay, anyway, there's a family connection. Keeping the family is nice. And then Amazon bought MGM, but they kept the rights. But everyone was like, it's good. And then obviously, like 6 months ago, they were like, if you give us $1 million or 100 million, whatever, you can have the Bond fully, and you can make Bond. And it probably was a lot more than that. And everybody was like up in arms about this, right? They were like, Amazon's not going to get Bond.
They won't care about it.
They don't care enough about Bond. They're going to write him in a way it's not true to his character. And I was like, have you seen some of the Bond movies? They're absolutely awful. Like as if only the Broccolis know what they're doing with Bond. There's some atrocious Bond films there. Someone's pedestal is perfect character.
Exactly.
Do you think you would have had the same reaction if it'd been sold to, I don't know, Netflix? Is that what it was?
No, you're right. I love it. I love it was anti-Amazon stuff. It was. It's that
because it's Bezos.
It's all wrapped up in that. It's all
No, but I think more if it had been. I think any of these streamers, but if it had been sold to like A24 or something like that, the rights.
I reckon they still would have complained because they're like that doesn't fit in with the aesthetic of Bond.
Yeah, probably. I think.
I would love to see them do 1960s reboot, like a period.
I'm sure you'll get it. Don't worry. The one thing Amazon will do is give you all types.
There'll be a
of
TV show.
Yeah,
there'll be the car getting
young
made,
Bond, old
working
Bond.
in the factory, building Aston Martin. Yeah,
but I think about Reacher, and I'm like, they did a good job with Reacher.
They
Yeah,
did a
they
good,
did.
and I
No,
also,
it's
yeah,
true.
they did a
Yeah.
good job of reach out. They've done a number of decent. I mean, they're just a platform. They buy it. They don't make the stuff. The production company
I
just
mean,
sell
they
it to
did
them.
a terrible
Yeah.
job with Lord of the Rings, so maybe the Tolkien estate.
I've not watched
I
season
didn't
two.
watch
I
I didn't
didn't
watch
mind
it.
the first one that much.
Yeah, but it's
never-
Well,
watched
it's
second one
another
yet.
form of distribution, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So it's
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. If you've not watched that on Amazon Prime, that's
I haven't watched
genuinely
it.
terrific.
Okay.
Donald Glover.
I'm good. Right. So, I think are we doing one more news story that Nadine? Not so much a news story, but you read.
I don't know why it's
you wanted to
Nadine. I
talk-
don't know why.
Basically,
wanted to
none
talk
of us
about
want to
a
touch the
review
barge
you
pole
read.
because it's highly litigious.
Oh
what you're
no,
about to say.
reviews. What was I talking about? Okay, so and I'm going to do this in a very diplomatic, I won't get sued way. So,
We-
James,
It's the first episode.
could you
One and done.
imagine? Could you imagine? This podcast is no longer available.
Yeah, sued by
So-
every single estate of
Well-
all copyright books.
Well, the James Frey estate. So James Frey is this author who early 2000s he wrote. I'm doing the quotes. He wrote a memoir called A Million. I think it's called A Million Little Pieces. I think that's what it was called. Anyway, he writes his memoir, and it's critical success, commercial success. It gets. I think Brad Pitt optioned it, even though he pulled out at the end. But everyone loves it. Oprah picks it for her book club. Shoots to the New York Times bestsellers list. It's amazing. He's living the author's dream.
Yep.
And then it emerges that he made up large sections of the book. And then he's basically crucified everywhere. Imagine Oprah puts you on her show. You remember, you got to imagine back then.
God,
And even now, you get the Oprah
cringe.
Book Club stamp. Yeah, you're catapulted. So Oprah puts him on her show to celebrate him. Then she calls him back to basically ask him, like, what the fuck were you doing? Like, you lied.
He went back at her show.
Yeah,
after it all
she
came
got
out.
him. Yeah, she got him
I wouldn't
back
go
on.
back on. I'd be like, no,
I wouldn't have gone on. I would have.
You mad? Nope.
Mate, I would have you don't know me. I've moved. You can't contact me. I'm
New number.
Forget it. Let me just take my advance and disappear. I'm done. But she gets him back on the show to ask him, like, what were you thinking? Like, you lied to us, because his memoir was about his drug addiction, and he talked about being in rehab and being arrested and all this stuff, and it never happened. So she called him back on the show,
What did
and
he
I
say?
was. I can't remember what he said, but it didn't go well. So his career kind of goes down the toilet. Fast forward to the present day in 2023, so 2 years ago, he does an article and he talks about basically using AI to help him write this book. But he's basically saying, I don't use, what is he called, generative AI, just help it. I just ask it to give me suggestions and maybe fix a sentence, but do it in my tone of voice. So that's in 2023. Fast forward to today, he has a new book out called Next to Heaven. And then there's all uproar on book threads, because it's always on book threads. Like, how can he have released this book? I'm not buying this book. There's a company called Book of the Month in America. They made that book of the Month. And there's a review. It got reviewed in the Times. The Times basically slated it, called it the worst book ever. It's the best review, so you need to read it. But my thing was, right, he said in regards to this book called Next to Heaven, which has been released, he didn't use AI at all. But my thing was, how can you accept that as being true when he's previously said in articles that he's used AI to help him write a book?
Yeah,
and then
and he's made stuff up completely from
and
scratch.
he's made stuff up, and Oprah called him out.
Yeah.
So even if they hadn't slagged off the book, how can you accept as what he's saying is true?
It's the danger of, as you say, as soon as you touch, that's another. There's all sorts of reasons that you shouldn't use AI as a writer, but that is one of the ones, which is as soon as you start doing it and people know, then they'll never know whether you've used it in the future, no matter what you say. It's a difficult. You'll never be able to get that off your.
I think it's such a poison chalice AI at the moment that to be associated with it in any kind of creative capacity, I think is such a dangerous move, because even if you are able to argue that you used it in such a way that it was completely justified, that it wasn't creative, but whatever, I feel it's just such a dicey thing to say, to put out there, that the people are not going to ever rationally back you, and all you're doing is inviting trouble. And I just don't think it is worth it at all to stick your head above the parapet in that sense, to be honest.
And I mean, it's bad enough that, you know, you've said it in an article, whatever, even if you just said, okay, I'll just use it to give me some, I needed to come up with a name for a fictional magazine in my book.
I mean, I've used name generators and stuff for that kind of thing.
So if you'd done that, maybe people could have been like, okay, maybe I could overlook it. But because you've got this history from 20 years ago where you lied in what's supposed to be a memoir, and you were called out by not only Oprah, but the whole publishing world calls you out that you have to disappear, and then you come back.
And I have to say, like his line about I put something into the AI and asked it to rejig a sentence in my voice. That very much feels like the AI doing the hard work for you. Like, surely the point of being a writer is that you are doing that part. That is the part you have to do yourself, surely. That is writing a sentence in your voice. It is writing, exactly.
What is the point in writing if you're not going to
that feels
very
exactly. No, I feel a bit uncomfortable putting that much control into the AI and letting it have that much say over the final product. That seems like a lot of oversight that you're giving it. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. I'm just going to wrap this bit up by telling you I've just looked it up on the New Yorker. The headline is James Frey's new cancelled guys sex novel is as bad as it sounds. So that probably sums up pretty well there.
I'm going to find a way, because it's behind the paywall, the Times review, but it's a good one. But on the one hand, I know we're going to move on, but on one hand, I was like, I wish you'd taken that space that you'd given him and given it to another author.
Oh, yeah.
Like a new author, like a debut, a mid-lister, instead of wasting, like, literally, like, he's got a whole thing. It's not even like a little block in a collection of like 4 reviews. He's got his whole review page.
It must be fun for book reviewers, though, because like restaurant reviewers, they must like it occasionally when they come across a bad restaurant, because it really lets
go to
them
town.
Yeah, and with books, I suspect they don't want to do that too much, because you're especially with new authors, you don't want to tear a new author book apart. Yeah. But if it's someone that you can just attack like that, then they probably enjoy it. I don't know. But
can I tell you what he said before? Just the last line in the review. It says, "No one in the novel feels remotely real. The characters are dead. The language is dead." And it says terrible things about publishing that this ever saw the light of day. It's also coming to a TV near you because Frey sold the screen rights before the manuscript.
There you go. That sums up publishing, modern day publishing in a sentence. Brilliant. Okay, well, let's move on to this next section, which we're calling off script, and just to wrap up the podcast, we want to talk about something that is unrelated to publishing news, just random things. And I think, Tarek, you wanted to, especially you just wanted to see me and Nadine have a fight.
Yeah. So this is so you guys, we're all comic book nerds, the 3 of us. I am much more of a Marvel man, and Marco and Nadine are much more of DC folk. And so I could only have assumed that they shared my view, which I believe is a view of the general public, which is the Snyder stuff is absolute dog shit, and the new Superman film looks like a nice kind of breath of fresh air. But no, that was not the case.
No, well, so see, I actually think between the 3 of us, I'm the most reasonable, because
are you trying to sound unhinged?
100% disagree.
There was aspects of the Snyder stuff that I quite liked. There's aspects that I think didn't work. I really, really like the look of the new Superman film from James Gunn. It's very comic booky. So I'm happy to watch all versions of this, but I don't think we all are we?
I'm sitting there pulling so many faces. Let's just say next month I will not be going to the cinema to watch it. I will be going to watch.
You're not going to see it in the cinema?
No, I'm going to wait for it to come on digital download, because I'm going to watch Fantastic Four. And I most likely will watch Jurassic World. Look, I've got my little
see all of them. But you don't have to pick between them.
Exactly.
Surely
I can. I told you.
So I'm such a DC fan as yourself to not see it in the cinema. That feels like
I don't know, but
for the new for more DC films. This has to
You
do
know
with
what? I have no issue with James Gunn being given the keys to DC Studios. You know, if they want to emulate Marvel and do that, good for them. Let them do that. I have no issue with that. I don't like James Gunn's style as a director. Like, I just never have. And I just feel he's been dying. He's been burning to make a Superman movie. Ever since he came out of that nonsense that was Brightburn. Like, he's just been begging to make a Superman movie. And now he's got his chance. I could have respected him more if he's been given the keys to DC. If he'd given it to someone else to write and direct without them putting all his mates and his brother and his wife in it. So that's one issue.
But
I'm a bit bitter, but I just don't like.
Do you not want the person who's super passionate to be the one?
Yeah, he's not doing Batman and stuff because he is handing that off because he thinks someone
he needs
can do a
to.
better job.
I would be I definitely. I mean, look at the Penguin. I mean, that just goes like, and even the new Batman. It wasn't my favorite, but I didn't mind it. No, I don't like James Gunn's directing style. I don't like the look of it. I just think it looks like a Poundland version of Christopher Reeve and a Poundland version of Henry Cavill, and he's just giving in to the people.
So what's your ideal? Look at the past Superman
films.
What's your top? Where are you coming from in terms of what you like?
This is the thing, right? Obviously, it's a generational thing. I will always love Christopher Reeves. That's always going to be that. He's my Superman.
Yeah, no, I get
I'm
that.
Fine with that. Yeah, I don't need it. I don't need him and that whole aesthetic, even down to the musical score, to be replicated today. I always feel like there's so much material within DC Comics for them to do anything they want, but just to kind of feel like they're doing the same old thing over and over and over again. Like, I didn't even mind. I say that. What's his name? Brandon Routh. I mean, Superman Returns movie was not the best. I mean, the airport scene. It was terrible. The airport scene, the airplane scene was cool, but other than but other than that, it was terrible. However, when they brought Brandon Routh back for the Flash series, and they had him in, and they did the Crisis, and they had the Kingdom Comes, he was perfect.
Yeah,
he was perfect. So I appreciate that. I even like Superman and Lois. That I can't remember the actor's name.
That's meant to be very good. I've not watched it.
It's so
Dean Cain.
No, not Dean Cain. He's gone a little bit.
Yeah, no, he's got.
No,
you mean Tyler?
The new one.
Tyler someone.
Tyler Hoechlin. Yeah. I think it's brilliant. Even though they finished it now, it's so good, and I appreciate seeing those different versions of Superman, which is why I like Man of Steel. I know Tarek's probably going to roll his eyes.
No, man, it's fine. It's just I liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I
like Henry Cavill. Yeah.
Man of Steel was actually. I thought the best Snyder film.
Oh, it was 100%. It was the best.
I think
downhill very rapidly from there.
I mean, I do like the Snyder cut of Justice League, but I feel with DC's problem was they didn't just trust their directors, any of their directors, like the ones they originally chose to do the job that they.
I think there was a lot of interference.
Yes, and that's the issue. And they were trying to become Marvel.
Well, yeah, but I think also the lack of a Kevin Feige character at Warner, I think, was a problem. You had all these people, committees ruling by, what's Guardians doing? That's doing really well. Let's throw some colour into Suicide Squad, and just these. There's no one voice guiding.
Yeah. I think it is important to have.
I think that was the problem, because I was talking about this the other day. Literally, I was talking about this the other day with the whole. I think with the whole Snyder things that they bought. If you bring someone like Snyder in, you know exactly what you're getting. Like, he did Watchmen, you knew exactly 100%. What you're getting. So then you shouldn't be crying and throwing your toys out of the pram when he gives you exactly what he told you he was going to give you.
That is a fair point.
And then, but then they're looking at Marvel. Marvel Studios did brilliantly before Disney took them over. But then, it's another story for another day. But they're looking at Marvel and they're thinking, oh, we need to be exactly like Marvel. It's like, no, you don't. Your comics aren't like Marvel. You just need to be like DC and just have confidence in the people you're bringing on board to do their job.
I'm looking at what the big stuff that DC have done recently that I've really enjoyed. It's been the stuff where it's been you've let a creator have free reign to do their own little, like Matt Reeves' Batman. I thought was brilliant. Todd Phillips' Joker. I haven't seen the second one. I know it was meant to be crap, but the first one I thought was fantastic. And letting them have the freedom and not be constrained by an overarching shared universe.
But you've just that contradicts exactly what you've just said.
No, because in those examples you had that like vision. You had someone. Whereas,
I know, but you didn't have a Feige. You didn't have one person.
No. But I think if you'd said like Todd Phillips or someone do a Joker verse or something.
Oh no, he wouldn't have.
And let him do it.
Yeah.
But I think both Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips were given creative control to do it themselves.
Yeah. Well,
I think my argument's always been you got multiverses. You know what I mean? You don't have to stick to one particular theme. You justified in giving us so many different versions, but I'm just not keen on.
To be fair
Gunn's version.
to be fair to Mr. Gunn, he has done that, hasn't he? He's saying that the Batman.
No, he
Matt
hasn't.
Reeves stuff. He has. He says
the
that.
Batman
And then these are Elseworlds.
Yeah. Robert Pattinson's
movies,
not going to be the Batman of.
And then
but
DC's.
no, but Matt Reeves' Batman was happening and Joker was happening way before James Gunn got told where the toilets are at DC Studios.
I'm just saying about how it is now organised. But anyway, we will see. Probably the movie will come out to terrible reviews, and you'll be proven right. But I'm looking forward to it.
You know what? If it does well, it does well. I'm not going to be like, and if it fails, I'm like, I may say I told you so, but I'm not going to be like, oh my god. You know, if it does well, and people. They do want that sort of aesthetic, so they'll
I think it might feel because I just think Superman's a very hard character to do well,
and also I think people are a bit burnt out on superheroes, and they're also very cautious about DC films generally. But I think
which is annoying. That upsets me as a DC as a comic book fan because I love the comics.
Yeah. But I think it'll do. I think it'll do reasonably well. I don't think it'll be like billion.
Happy over here. I mean, Marvel's kind of gone downhill quite a bit the last few years, but you're rating pretty high.
But I think we might talk about it next time. But I think it is that whole superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
That's why I say you need to be giving people something different and sticking by your convictions.
One thing before we wrap up, just related to what you said about Brandon Routh. These sorts of things show me that what a different script or director makes, because I saw a deleted scene from, this brings us back to the Jar Jar Binks thing. There's a deleted scene from the prequels that I saw this week that had characters that are now in Andor, the TV show, which is brilliant, like Mon Mothma, and it was the same actors and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were awful in it. Like, just
really?
the acting and the line delivery was terrible. And compare that to her performance in Andor, where it's just, I think she's one of the best things in the series. It just shows you the difference a good script and a good director can make to casting.
Was it the same actress as in Andor that was in the prequels?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise it was the same movie.
I haven't watched season 2 yet. I've been saving it.
So good.
Yeah, we just finished watching season 1 again. It's phenomenal.
The prison scene, the breakout scene in the prison.
It's the wee mini arcs. I love the wee mini arcs.
And the monologues throughout the whole
monologues
season.
are brilliant.
I think, like, when you watch a good movie, you watch a good TV series, as writers, it makes you think about your own writing and how you want it to come across and be interpreted.
And they have like 2 episodes to flesh out a group of people, mercenaries, and they do it so quick. Like Andy Serkis did it for like 2 episodes, but he's such a big character. Like they do so much with him in that short time. It's really well written stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. But we can maybe have a discussion about Andor and once you both watch season 2.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yes, let's do that.
Special. Yeah.
And not Superman.
We just forget the book stuff and just chat about comics.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do that.
I'd love that. One day, let's do a comic book episode.
Let's do that. Yeah, you have to watch Superman though.
But I think we better wrap it up. This is going way longer than I think we originally planned, but it's been good. Hopefully, we've enjoyed it. I don't know if people.
As long as that's me, I don't care about
it. Exactly. But yeah,
that's what James Gunn said. I don't care about anyone else.
Thanks for everyone for tuning in for this first episode. I'll do the usual YouTube, follow, subscribe, thumbs up, all that sort of stuff, and tell lots of people about it because it is a new podcast. As I say, you can go to State Podcast. We're gathering our podcasts, the Page One ones, Nadine's conversation and coffee. What is it? Coffee break.
Coffee break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be able to find them all in one place on YouTube, and obviously you'll still be able to get them as you were getting them before as well. But an exciting new partnership, we hope, and we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back hopefully in a couple of weeks or so with another episode of these adventures in publishing land.
See you later.
Bye.